Well, I'll go ahead and get started then. I'm going to share my screen. And we'll just run through this. So yeah, Elsewhere Residencies 2022. Just to run through some of the stuff at the beginning, applications are due Monday, January 3rd by 11:59 p.m. We do not charge for our applications. It's a completely free process. You just have to have a Gmail account. As you can see, if you need any of this, there's a PDF sample application here. It should be, if you just go to elsewheremuseum.org, it should be like a main banner, super easy to find. Yeah, right at the top. Application is through here. All this stuff. We'll look over this later. But yeah, we'll just talk about Elsewhere a little bit. So Elsewhere is a 120-year-old building. For most of its life, it was for a huge chunk of its life, it was a variety of businesses run by one woman named Sylvia Gray. She and her husband bought this space in 1939 and and ran a variety of businesses from within here. So there was furniture reupholstery, military surplus. Her husband, Joe, died very suddenly in about 1959. And she really just started diversifying her business after that. So it really all became thrift. So especially between the 70s and 1997, she really just ran a thrift store and collected all this material. She died in 97, and the building got boarded up until about 2003, when her grandson George and his collaborator Stephanie decided to open everything back up and start this program. And now, 18 years later, we have 35 to 50 artists come in every year. They live on the second floor for a month if they are doing an on-site residency. If you are local, we do also have the option for you to do an off-site residency where you just come in and spend roughly 30 hours a week working on your project for that month. But yeah, they live here. It's a communal living experiment. You have to clean up after yourself. We have this thing called Power Hour that we do. It's defined as one day during the week where everyone gets together and spends about, and this is residents and staff, spend about an hour tackling a specific part of the building and getting that all cleaned up. We cook for each other, stuff like that. But yeah, I'll read through this really quickly. Elsewhere is a living museum, international artist residency, and collaborative learning laboratory built from Sylvia Gray's 3-story thrift store and her 58-year collection of material, culture, and surplus. Elsewhere's mission is to support site-specific experimentation, social action, and interdisciplinary collaboration in order to foster new ways of thinking and doing. The exploration of context and place in artistic creation and the integration of creativity and life. Our vision, with people and things we build collaborative futures, is both practical and utopian, believing that everything we do at Elsewhere is creating the futures we need. We are situated in the center of downtown Greensboro, North Carolina, surrounded by restaurants, shops, venues, and other organizations in close proximity to historically under-resourced and redlined neighborhoods. This has also developed a lot since Elsewhere started. Elsewhere used to be surrounded by mostly empty buildings, and sort of played a hand in the rejuvenation of downtown. But yeah, right up the street is the International Civil Rights Museum that commemorates the Greensboro Four who started the sit-ins in the 1960s. And we ourselves have been a critical site for supporting contemporary movement work for Black Lives Matter, Queer People of Color Collective, and other groups. Greensboro was at one time an international hub for the textile industry and is in recent decades hosting growing immigrant communities The city is, I'm real bad at reading out loud to people, FYI. Um,
Easier you can paraphrase.
city was founded by Quakers and boasts 5 universities and colleges, including A&T, the largest HBCU in the country, and Bennett College, a small Black liberal arts college for women. We partnered with nearby downtown arts magnet high school, Weaver Academy, and the experiential school, who uses downtown as their campus. Our proprietor, Sylvia Gray, was a founding member of the local synagogue and regularly fed groups of Guilford College students when she came home from the shop. So sort of gives you a history of the fact that, Elsewhere has always been a community space. This sort of goes over what we were talking about before. 30 to 50 or 30 to 35 artists are going to be selected this year. So here's some nuts and bolts. Actual residency length is 27 days. There is flexibility around that if you have to show up a little bit early or a little bit later. We'll be talking about this new collaborative family residency in a few, and that's 7 to 19 days. Average number of artists in a residency at a time is 6. We have the capacity for up to 7 right now, but here, this is specific to this year and this coming up year in 2022. We aren't running our internship program right now, specifically to prioritize resident artists being within the space with COVID going on. So normally Elsewhere would function with 4 interns and up to 7 residents. But when we have all of those people, it is the case that we have to basically have dormitory style rooms. So 2 to 3 residents a room, same with interns, 2 to 3 residents, or 2 to 3 interns a room. Right now, because we're prioritizing artists, it's singular rooms. It's private rooms. No one is bunking together. Number of artists accepted in our most current year is 40 for 2020. Total applicant pool in our most current year is approximately 250. And we have, this says 10 paid fellowships. I'm pretty sure it's actually 11 for 2022. But they are through I'm blanking. Help me, Jordan. Sorry, SoCo. Southern Constellations Fellowship, which is for Southern regional artists. Thank you, Jordan. I saw you jumping on there.
I was also add, I think there's another one related to New Orleans as well.
Yes, there is Exchange, which changes different cities every year. This year it's for New Orleans. Basically what these fellowships offer is $1,000 honorarium, as well as up to $500 travel stipend. So yeah, we'll just go over the residencies and the different sessions really quickly, and see what else is on this page. So Residency 111 and 113. 111 will be April 14th through May 10th. 113 will be August 11th through September 6th. The foundational residencies are now fee-free. What is actually going on this time around is, as opposed to offering a residency with a flat fee, we're going to basically be offering a pay what you want, anywhere from nothing to up to $4,000, which is what the residency experience has been valued at. But the foundational residency is really just that. It's you're on site, you're making work out of the stuff around you. Urban Exchange, still foundational, still making stuff around you. This is specifically for people from New Orleans. We're looking for people that are really embedded in sort of the up and coming art scene of New Orleans. This one is brand new, the Collaborative Family Residency. So it's this is sort of a way for us to try to open up Elsewhere for parent artists, which has been not very easy in the past. What we've been able to offer in the past has been basically a lump sum of money to help offset childcare. but this one is more angled towards people bringing their families. So this will be July 21st through August 9th, 7 to 19 days, flexible start and end dates. As you can see, there are some required dates. We do have some former families who have come to elsewhere, not necessarily at the same time. So Eva actually was one of our Philadelphia Exchange residents in 2019. And then Anne, her mother, was able to come in 2020 in the only residency that we had before COVID shut everything down. Southern Constellations, again, this is sort of Southern regional artist specific. Doesn't change your ability to actually apply. It's just this is one of the fellowships in which you can get up to $1,000 or get $1,000 honorarium and up to $500 in travel stipend. Another one of the new residencies we're hosting, the Greensboro Contemporary Jewish Museum, is working on this Social Practice Institute residency. So we'll train Jewish identifying artists in the South in the methodological and pedagogical socially engaged art practice alongside a curriculum of Jewish thought leadership. Again, no fees this year. Like I said, our full residency cost per artist is approximately $4,000. About 60% of this is covered by grants. So this time around, we're really just leaving it up to you guys. It's up to you if you want to pay it all to offset some of that, but it's just trying to make this a little bit more open and easier for people to be able to participate. If you know any rich friends, we also have this financial support fund. You can send them this way. Our foundational residency, there's also, when you come in, you get roughly $100 materials budget, which you can get reimbursed for anything you buy to put your project together. It has been increased back up to 100 from the last 2 years of roughly 50. I feel like I don't want to like read the pages too much to you guys. So if there's any questions that you're having, like feel free to jump in.
I have a question about materials.
Yeah.
The materials funding, is that for materials outside of the found stuff within the building and within the space?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've sort of read already that the big 2 rules of elsewhere is that nothing new comes in and nothing leaves. We're a little bit looser on that when it comes to things like support materials. A great example of this is one of our latest artists this year did all these soft sculpture pieces. So everything that is visible in her work is collection materials. All these fabrics that she used, but she used polyfill to stuff all of them. So stuff like that, or we've had a lot of artists that have done video work that a lot of them have opted to buy like a Kindle to display that video work.
So like as an interactive artist, a lot of times I build stuff out of random things that are interactive, but there's like, I piece together a computer to run the actual interactive program. So if I were to bring in a computer, that would be kind of okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We've also had artists that have ordered like Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and used those. So yeah, that's totally fine.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yes, a question just came into the chat. Can you say a little more about the family residency? For instance, is there housing for a number of family members, or is there support in other forms?
So yeah, basically, I'm pretty sure we have it set up to where it's no more than 2 families at any one time. And yes, you get full housing the same way any other resident would. Basically, you'll get your own room that has 2 beds in it. Depending on who applies and what sort of families it looks like, it's basically we're working with who applies to it. But the second floor has about 7 rooms worth of residential area right now.
And I see that Sarah has their hand up. Sarah?
Yes, thank you. I'll lower my hand in a minute. So the family collaborative family residency, you state that it's parents. As I mentioned before this started, that my sister lives in Greensboro and she has custody of her grandchildren. Would it be possible to apply for the family residency with my grandnieces if they were interested? I mean, I have to find out that rather than having to, and then what it would do is take them away from their grandmother having to like look after them every minute during those times that they're off.
Yeah, I don't think that we're quantifying this in any specific way family wise. I know that there's been talk of like both in terms of this being like sort of active family. By that I mean like parents with actual children, like child age children, as well as like adult children and their parents coming in and doing work together. So it's very flexible.
That's just one more question from Mariana about for Southern Constellation fellowships. Does one's project need to be focused on a Southern theme? And from my understanding, the answer is no. It does not have to be.
Yeah, it does not. You really just have to be Southern regional. We do like when Southern Constellations artists have something to say, be that positive or negative about the South, but it is not a requirement.
I have a follow-up question about that. The Southern Constellations residency or fellowship. I am from Greensboro, but I don't reside in Greensboro. But I would be interested in that particular fellowship because I like my family home is there, so I could easily live in Greensboro. But I just wanted to know like are there stipulations to that? I wouldn't want to apply to that and because I'm currently based in Chicago, if that would be an issue or how that kind of works, how we decide on the regionality of it, I guess.
Right. You don't necessarily have to be currently based in the Southern region, as long as you have a compelling connection to it, which for you, that sounds to me pretty compelling. So yes, I would say you could absolutely apply for that.
Also, there seems to be some technical difficulty. Amanda had mentioned when clicking on to apply on the website, it says that the application is closed. This has happened a couple of times. Try refreshing your computer and try it again.
Make sure you're also signed into a Google account because I'm pretty sure that's what was the case before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have another question.
Absolutely.
So as Carissa asked about having a connection with the South, but not living in the South, does that apply for the social practice residency also?
No, so that is social practice is a completely different beast.
Yes.
That one's really just got to do with the Southern Constellations Fellowship.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually got an email earlier today that was asking about that because it was actually an international artist that was under the impression that you could only really apply to this residency if you were Southern regional. the residency is completely open to anyone internationally. I keep wanting to go like, you can apply from outside the solar system if you want. But yeah, no, the residency is completely open to everyone. It's just the Southern Constellation Fellowship and the Urban Exchange Fellowship. These two paid opportunities are very specific with who they're applicable to.
I thought that the one go down the Greensboro, go down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one, Greensboro Contemporary Jewish Museum, had something about. Yeah, it says train Jewish identifying artists in the South in the methodology and pedagogy of social engaged art. So that's the one where I'm asking about the definition of South.
I don't think that is specific. From my understanding, that's not specific to the artists being from the South. It's specific to the Jewish culture within the South.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And Baraka had mentioned or had asked, from Georgia, can you still apply? And I think this is a great segue. I think a larger question is there a breakdown either on our site or maybe a list you could refer people to let them know about regionally? Because Southeast is a pretty big, or Southern Constellation is a pretty big region. That can rank from Texas to Tennessee to the Carolinas.
I'm pretty sure it's actually listed on this webpage, but let me double check. Yeah, so this is how we sort of define that. Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Kentucky, Mississippi, Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands. And again, we're open to other regions with sufficient response. But these specifically are what we have defined, at least in the past, as Southern Constellations. We've gone over most of this. So yeah, expectations and opportunities. Our invited residents sign a contract that includes artwork agreement. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. The work that you make here, specifically if you're using collection materials, becomes part of Elsewhere's permanent collection. We take really, really nice documentation for you, but the physical object itself lives within Elsewhere permanently. And gets folded into our tour. So every year, the tour gets updated with the most recent artworks being given like the main light of that. And then, of course, throughout that, we also tour people on like the most, the work that tends to have staying power the most and that people are always like into, like the greatest hits. And all of the work here at Elsewhere basically gets a 1-year safety net. So because Elsewhere is this experiment in post-consumption, at some point in the future, all of this work can be recontextualized and changed by another artist. But at least for that first year, it's safe from that. Depending on the craftsmanship of stuff, it tends to last. I would say the average lifespan of work here at Elsewhere, specifically if someone hasn't gone out of the way to make it really hard to take down, is roughly 5 to 6 years.
Jess, are there any opportunities, because I think there were a couple of previous residencies where under special circumstances, the work can temporarily leave, but must be returned back, hence our Elsewhere in the Box that we did for Extravaganza or the work of Chris Omni. Can you shed a little more light on that?
Yeah, so any artwork here, well, let's define that a little more. Any artwork that is movable, because we have a couple of pieces. I'm specifically thinking about one that I'm looking at right now by one of our latest artists, Lexi Hotai, that is literally bolted to the ceiling and the floor. So it's not really movable, but we do have a agreement where if you're specifically wanting to show it in an exhibition, it can go on loan. The other thing you were mentioning, Jordan, is if people are wanting to do long-term projects, we are willing to basically let you take that collection material on loan, with the understanding that we do have to sign a contract and basically have your credit card number. That's sort of like if you haven't returned it within, let's say you have a 5-year rental period of this item to do this project. If you haven't returned it by so-and-so day within that 5-year period, depending on what the object is and the value of it, you would get charged for that. But there are opportunities to create ongoing projects like that.
Thanks for that clarification, because that also seemed to be, it's not common that people rent stuff out like that. Yeah. But since being with Elsewhere, I've noticed it's starting to pick up and becoming somewhat of a new thing. And also more of the collaborations that Elsewhere is doing. I think that may be, we just want to make sure that people are at least aware of that and it's open for discussion. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So let's just talk about eligibility. So we do have to, everyone does have to be at least 18 years old. The collaborative family residency, we have to have at least one participant who is 18 years or older. We share a radically expansive understanding of creative practice and identity, and we strive for different representation of our voices, life experience, views, and interests to reflect the collaborative community we wish to serve. So what makes great Elsewhere resident? Makers, doers, and thinkers of all kind. We're sort of trying to move away from calling it an artist in residence program and more of a creative in residence program. We want makers of all kind, playwrights, traditional artists, musicians, writers for that matter. Yeah, if you feel like you have a creative practice within something, apply with it. We also do welcome collaboratives. So like 2019, we had a duo named Thorn Collaborative. You still will be counted as separate residents. However, you can apply as a collaborative. I won't go over all of these since you guys can go look and dig deep into them. But yeah, facilities and services. So like I mentioned, we do have these bedrooms. It is single occupant bedroom at this point. Elsewhere is on the lower side of downtown Greensboro, so there's a whole lot within walking distance. There is the opportunity for off-site housing here with our partner Creative Aging Network. The Inman House, it's like it says, about 35 minutes on a public bus or 8 minutes by car. We have made our on-site washer and dryer free for residents to use now. In the past, that was specifically just for cleaning needs within Elsewhere. But because of COVID, we're opening things up a bit. We operate a vegetarian food co-op within the Kitchen Commons, which is a residency project here at Elsewhere. It's a fully functional kitchen. We do have a garden out back that we grow food from. You have 24/7 access to the kitchen. Part of the obligation is that all the residents and staff cook for each other. We do have a schedule set up for that. So if you apply and get in, that will become more clear. You are welcome to have guests, but there is a cost for them. I believe it's roughly $20 a night to stay, and $10 per day to be part of the food co-op. This one's important. We do allow animals in with during your residency, but they do have to be a certified trained service animal. Unfortunately, we can't take things like emotional support cats just by name. We would have to have paperwork. On-site equipment. So like I mentioned, there's like a 58-year surplus of things, which before this is over, I will jump on my phone on the Zoom and show you guys around a little bit to see more, but it's really everything you can think of. There's old working cameras, there's old working computers, there's speaker systems, there's so many toys. We have massive amounts of fabrics, tons of wood, but we also have the Forge Maker Space, which is our sister space, which is literally, I don't know, maybe 500 feet away. It's a very short walk. That really opens up what our residents can do. So while you're here, you get 24-hour access to this makerspace after a short orientation. And they have everything from laser cutters, a full wood shop, textile shops, ceramics studios, 3D printers, all sorts of stuff. You can see a full list of tools and equipment here, as well as resident projects. I don't know if we've updated this yet. Yeah, there's only 2 right now, but resident projects that have made use of the Forge. Production support. The team here at Elsewhere is here to help you pull off your project. We won't make it for you. I always have to be very clear when I onboard residents that we will not make your project, but we are here to facilitate in any way we can. As well as community access. Like quite a lot, artists want to bring the community into their project, and we can absolutely facilitate that as well. Frequently asked questions, chosen family, specifically, I mean, what it says, a group of people in an individual's life that satisfies the typical role as family as a support system. I'm not sure whether we're counting that in the family residency. I will have to check on that and get back to you. And you can only participate in 1 residency a year. However, you can apply every year. And I believe what the rule has been in the past is that within 5 years, you can have a residency twice here. But if you apply again after that, you have to wait out of like after that 5 years. Are there any other questions? Because I know that I'm rambling a little bit.
Actually, if you'd like, I would like to talk about some of the community-based work and public program that Elsewhere has that residents would be asked to join. So, thank you. So to elaborate, so Elsewhere, as a brand and as an institution, we are being more social minded and focused on engaging community through our programming, but also just through our stances. And with that said, we are looking to build a more collaborative experience for our visitors through some of our events called The Happening, workshops, and then there's an artist talk. From this past year with each residency, what had happened was, like, within the span of your visit, shortly, like literally maybe day 2 or 3 of you being there, there is already an artist talk that's already planned and advertised. 3 days. Thank you, Jess. 3 days after you literally come in, we'll be doing an artist talk, which is typically on a Saturday from 3 to 5, where the public can come in and hear, your background as an artist in the line of work that you do. The other event that we have about a couple weeks into your residency is something called workshops, where, and it's totally based on what you want to do, but you can have these collaborative experiences where the community and the visitors can come and make work with you. Artists such as Karis Fleschner, she had this one workshop where people can come in and draw emotions. And then she took those drawings and made the soft sculptures out of them using items in the collection. You know, you don't have to do that, but if you want to, a lot of artists have kind of had fun with that. And then the big event, and it's kind of what everyone's coming for and really excited about during the residency, is called The Happening. So The Happening is on the first Friday of every month of the residency. Essentially, you've spent almost your entire month. And so people come in and get to see your work, which has either been completed or very close to. And that's sort of like the big showcasing of what you've been able to do thus far. And so these programs are just ways in which we try to get the community to be connected to and sort of engage with artists, the artwork, and the collection itself. You are totally free to design those experiences however you want. When it comes to the workshops and The Happening, and I think just for the artist talk, you just talk about your past work. For some projects, to my understanding too, you can enlist help from the community. Several artists have done like a call for community support, and so my role with Elsewhere is communications. I'm the communications manager, and a few times some of the artists have come to me and asked, "Hey, I want to do a call for the local community here of people who want to volunteer or collaborate with me on times outside of our regular programming," and that's totally cool. We just gotta settle logistics, and so I would help with the artists advertise that and get people, you know, enlisted and signed up. One example is Jordan Wason, who did a collaboration in the waiting room. So he had people come in and make music out of the objects that he wired up to a speaker. So it really is our main focus as an organization is to really build a more collaborative future, and that opens the door for many ways in which we can do that. If just to give something for you to think about as you apply for your residency, and once you eventually get the residency, like what do you want to do in that spirit? All right, back to you, Jess.
Yeah, are there any other questions so far?
You might have already actually gone over this, but could you just talk a little bit more about dates for each residency? Because they're all happening at different times, right? Like the foundational one versus the constellations. And I just want to make sure I'm getting it all right in my calendar.
Yeah. So the way it's set up this year is if you go into this page, the Residencies 2022 page, we have it all set up to where, you know, this is the normal foundational residency, and you'll see this when you do the drop down in the actual application. But yeah, the full foundational programs are Residency 111 and 113. So 111 is April 14th through May 10th. 113 is August 11th through September 6th. Urban Exchange, which is Residency 112, June 16th through June 12th. The family collaborative one is July 21st through August 9th, with the required dates being July 30th through August 6th. And Southern Constellations, October 13th through November 8th, which will be Residency 114. And the Contemporary Jewish Museum one is TBA currently. That one has a specific form for it, as well as, yeah, that's the only one. The others all are under the same application fee here. There's different questions for each of them that will define whether or not you're applying for that one. So like there could be someone who is from New Orleans and Louisiana that could apply for both the Urban Exchange as well as Southern Constellations. So there's that little bit of overflow there.
and it's applying to multiple programs, okay? Like if I wanted to apply to the Southern Constellations and the foundational one, I could do that in the same application, or like apply twice?
So what it should be set up as in the application is that you will basically tick the different ones that you're interested in, and provided that you have filled out the information on Southern Constellations, you'll be put in that pool, so that when we have people, I can speak to that next. But when everything's looked over and scores are tallied up, you'll be considered for that. Yeah. So that's actually a great thing to jump into, the way all this is done. So once the applications close, the staff here at Elsewhere, basically we will go over all of the applications and make sure there's nothing that just very blatantly is not up to standards, or just does not work with Elsewhere at all. And then we will take all of those applications, and we have an international network of art workers, curators, alumni from the program, who will basically, each of them will get 5 to 10 of you, and they will score you based on merit and excellence, and then send all that back to us. We'll have a huge document of all of you. Everyone will be basically sorted by their scores. But then also generally I go through and double check and make sure that there's no diamonds in the rough. So it's never the case of like someone applying and they don't even get looked at. You will all be looked over multiple times. Testimonials, blah, 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 not important. Again, there's the ability to sponsor if you know any rich friends. But yeah, we are part of the Artist Communities Alliance for over 11 years. I think, Sarah, you mentioned seeing us there. Yeah. And Elsewhere is also a founding member of the organization Common Field. Common Field connects, supports, and advocates for artist-centered field by providing a network of independent arts organizations and organizers. So I'm actually going to jump onto my phone on here, and show you guys around. And you can feel free to ask any more questions while we're doing that. See if I can get this to work.
Will you show us the ceiling?
Oh, I can show the ceiling.
I don't know if it's changed since I've been there. It sounds like it might have, but I have pictures of it in the other room.
So yeah, this is 608 or 606. This is the main entrance area of Elsewhere. Front stage. Normally there will be swings up here, but they have not been put back up since Extravaganza. I'm gonna make a huge mistake and step outside in the cold to show you the front of the building. Are there any questions, you guys, while we're going over this?
Is it freezing outside?
Yeah, like how cold you talking?
It's not actually that bad right now.
Oh, so you got some people from Chicago, you have a New Yorker here. Like, how cold are we talking here?
Well, it was in the 30s yesterday. It's probably like low 50s right now.
Oh,
I think I saw a question.
I do. Yeah, I'm about to read it out. So you mentioned some alternative housing. Would that be available for someone with a mental health disability?
I don't see why not. Oh, that's another thing to mention also in terms of accessibility needs. Unfortunately, right now, Elsewhere, only the first floor is ADA accessible. So if there are, for instance, wheelchair needs, unfortunately, at the moment, we do not have the ability to support that, but we are looking towards getting an elevator installed at some point.
Also, there's another home, if I remember correctly, it's on the website that perhaps for that someone could stay at, since
I
there's
think
no
that's what they were talking about, the Inman house.
yeah, since there's no bedroom on the first floor.
Yeah.
Another question is, do you support durational work? Is there a DIBS system for different showing spaces? This is from Chris Pickney. Chris Pickney, could you elaborate a little more?
I think I understand, actually. Yeah, generally, I've tried, at least with the residencies that I've run with artists, to get people to try to stay out of each other's way a little bit. In that, like, let's say two people wanting to work in the ghost room, but they both have several different project proposals. Generally, I will try to get the two of them to not both work in the same space. Durational work, I mean, it depends on the duration. The only really major durational work I can think of off the top of my head is Pioneer Winter's A Love to Last 13 Hours, in which he did a 13-hour performance the day of the happening. I can't think of anything longer than that, but I can't see why not. While you're here, we'll be making use of this calendar, so do not pay attention to any of this because this is very old at this point. But your schedules will be laid out for you to see. Completely functional kitchen.
Hey, Jess, do you think
Go ahead.
Do you think we're able to maybe see the workshop on the third floor?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna walk us through all of it.
Oh, never mind.
I'm gonna be wheezing by the time I get to the third floor, but
Yeah, that's a room I want to see. Oh, the ceiling is all tin now.
oh, it's been that way.
Actually, I don't remember when I visited, but there was like cloth. And I'm trying to find the pictures from when I visited. In the front of second room.
Oh, they might have changed a little bit of that, but the tin ceiling is original.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I remember.
So this is the second floor. This is where you guys. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I remember the cloth ceilings from like 12 years ago when I was growing up there.
Oh,
Change.
I'm honestly not sure about that because that's pre-me. Yeah, this is the second floor. This is where everyone basically lives. We do have bathrooms and showers. This room looks much more disgusting than it actually is. This is just a wall texture. I can give you an idea of what the bedrooms are like. So like I said, in the past, it's been dormitory style, so 2 to 3 people per room. So most of them still are set up in that they have a bed for sleeping as well as a day bed. Most of them also have a desk that you can make use of for work, and usually there will be a chair here, so you have a little downtime. Building is up to code now, as well as we do have an HVAC system, so we do have heat and air conditioning. That did not used to be the case.
Oh, Jess, real quick, when you took a look into the ribbon room, there was one point I forgot to add. So earlier I was saying before, you can enlist help from the community. And so in this room in particular, it's changed a little bit because a recent artist, Abby Rothman, has done some work with the ribbons, but there's a couple of pieces in this room where artists had, I think it's called Climbing Mountain. This one particular artist started rolling up, but then later on asked for like the community to come help roll them up. And I think Abby did the same for trying to hoist the ribbons up and fixing them onto the ceiling, if I'm not mistaken.
That ended up just being me and Vicky helping Abby, but But yeah, I mean, I can speak to this one. So yeah, this is called To Climb a Mountain by April Camlin. It's a little busted at the moment. I have to finish fixing it. But April Camlin, basically the idea was that she wanted to take all of these ribbons, and roll them up to sort of mirror the labor of Sylvia, who these ribbons on the wall are actually one of the few things in Elsewhere that we treat very preciously and we don't let residents use because they were rolled by Sylvia's hand. So to sort of mirror that labor, April Camlin did a project where she was rolling all of these up. And the goal, like I said, was to roll up every single ribbon in this room. About 3 weeks in, she realized that was an impossibility to do on her own and started enlisting the community, and still only got, several thousand in from all of this.
There's also another application question in terms of being able to edit once you've submitted. I know Baraka had mentioned that they had tried to fill it out, or they filled it out and tried to edit it, and now they're unable to. Do you think that could be a feature that could be changed?
It should be editable. We'll have to look into that. But if nothing else, if you can send an email to either Museum at Go Elsewhere or Residency at Go Elsewhere.org, we can figure that out.
And I think that can go for any other technical difficulties anyone may experience. Yeah. We really do appreciate y'all's feedback. We want to make sure that this process is as seamless as possible.
So like the dibs question sort of works well about this room. This is the ghost room. Oh wait, let me turn this on to give you the full effect. The ghost room is super popular. People always want to use this space. But it's really hard to support multiple people wanting to be in here at once. It's also the most damaged of all the rooms in Elsewhere. I really should have turned all of this on before we started. But for instance, like these rooms up in the hallway, no one tends to want to use them because the work in here right now is very compelling. But like this space, not this space because Karis's work is brand new, but that first room, this room, and this room technically could all be retransformed at this point. The work in them is 2 to 3 years old each, so it's really lost its safety net. This is sort of our textile area. It's a little bit of a mess right now. It needs to be cleaned up, but we have a variety of old sewing machines. Some of them are completely functional, some not so much. Because Elsewhere is one of those, we don't get rid of anything. We also have tons of broken glass and ceramics that can be made use of. Somebody mentioned wanting to see the workshop area, and this is it. So there's a whole lot of stuff over here that's up for grabs.
Don't forget the wood library.
I was going to say, we have the wood library. So the wood library is a artist project by Colin Bliss and Paul Howe. And the idea is that, instead of artists coming in and just buying new lumber for everything, pretty much the wood library
Hey, Jess, are you still there? I think we lost you.
So usually within through all of them, and and see if we have what you need to avoid cluttering up the space more or buying unneeded materials. So that's also something to think about, is like Elsewhere has a fair amount of functional art. Space area, we do have some paints pointing out. So if you're a painter, keep that in mind. Most of it is house paint. Some workshop areas. And we do have a small wood shop and a variety of tools. Like I mentioned, you can't really see it now, but within like 500 feet is the forge, which really opens up what's available.
Uh-oh. Jess, are you still there?
The yard.
Jess?
As well as the facade of the building, usually underutilized part of the building in which artists make work. Oh, that door is not closed. Do we have any other questions at the moment?
At the moment, no.
Oh my God, door closed. Sorry.
Although, can you hear us okay? A couple of times we lost signal, like, and got a couple of lags here while you were talking.
Yeah, hold on. I think. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Oh, I can't hear any of you.
Oh,
Okay.
traffic.
I think I got too far away from one of the Wi-Fi routers.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah, are there any other questions?
I just have a quick thing. I finally got on my computer so I could look at the site, and I was curious. I live in Durham, and I think I'd be eligible for applying for the Southern Constellation, but I'm also interested in just like any of the residencies. So 2 questions: can I apply for both? And also, it asks on the application which set of dates. If you're flexible, can you just grab that also on the application?
Yeah, so if you look on the main page, it should tell you which sessions are at which session is Southern Constellations, because Southern Constellations is a singular session.
Okay.
Yeah, pick any of the dates that are eligible, and as long as you pick Southern Constellations and you fill out the info form for that, you will be considered.
Thanks.
Of course.
All right. Last call. So any other questions?
I can show you guys the back facade as well. Wait, do I have my keys? I do. So all of this is actually usable.
And as a reminder too, so once you get your residency and eventually come, there will be an orientation meeting that briefly goes over a lot of this again, and go also a little further in depth from just some things we talked about, from IP properties to the use of space, liabilities and safety, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, once you come in, your orientation is basically about one of your first days is pretty much just being oriented all day long. It's exhausting.
I know that's right. I only went to one and I was already tired. I went to half of one and I was tired. And if there are no other questions, Jess, is there any last minute thoughts, things to share before we conclude?
Honestly, I know I rambled, but I think I covered everything.
You covered a lot of good stuff. And I think that does cover the gist of it. Beyond that, y'all, just thank you so much for your time and your interest. And we look forward to looking over your applications, the work you've done, the work you plan to do. Actually, that might be the last ask I have, Jess, is because I perceive someone maybe feeling challenged when they first come to elsewhere, because it can be a lot. But from what I've perceived thus far, the process, and especially when we talk about drafting proposals of what you want to do once you stay here, is like, can you kind of shed a little more light onto that experience?
Yeah, so we specifically ask that you guys don't try to do too much research as to what is here and available elsewhere. The idea is that we really want you to spend your first, so you get it on a Thursday. Proposals are due Tuesday mornings, the following Tuesday morning. The idea is that we want you to embed yourself into the space for that time, and really just like, we know that's a very short amount of time to really sort of figure out what you want. So it's good to have sort of a loose idea of like, I mean, Karis is a good example. Karis came in knowing that she wanted to make soft sculpture, but used those 4 days to sort of like really define what that soft sculpture was going to be and make use of and be about. So yeah, you'll take about 4 days to sort of work on the ideas of your proposal. And then it's basically a day of meetings where we go over and work through the ideas of these proposals with you. And once you have approval, you're free to start. Before that, we just ask that if you make anything, that you're not destructive to any of the materials here. I mean, and for that matter, unless it's conceptually important that you are destructive to materials here, we sort of try to push people away from just completely wrecking things to make a project. One of the founders, Stephanie Sherman, one of her things was like, she was like, I don't want anyone using glue at all. People are allowed to use glue. We don't follow that particular rule, but yeah, it's just like I said, it is an experiment in post-consumption. So the less you destroy things and the more you keep things around so that future artists can retransform them, the better. Also, I can show you while I'm over here. That is Sylvia, the original proprietress, the one that collected all this stuff. And that is George and Steph. Oh, a little glary.
Thinking, I mean, I don't know, on a bright note, thank you so much.
Wait, we have one more question.
Oh.
It's a quick question.
Oh, yeah. I've signed into the Google Doc, got a couple different browsers.
I will look into this, Billy. If you can email museum@goelsewhere.org, just so I have your email, I'll see what I can do about that and see if we can get it working.
This was really cool. I'm super giddy. This looks like a house, like a thing I've dreamt up as a child. Like, this is where I would live, type of thing. Thank you for showing us around and answering lots of questions.
Of course.
Also, I recommend, if anybody, like the people who live in Greensboro or even in Raleigh, you know, if you're kind of close to it, go visit. Are people allowed to come visit?
So absolutely.
Okay. So
yeah.
I just didn't know with, you know, COVID rules, because it's really amazing. It's a really amazing space, and I just wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. The organization of supplies. I mean, I know some parts are kind of messy right now. Is beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. The ceiling in the front there.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, that installation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you are local or somewhat local, like Sarah said, come visit. Our current hours, we're not quite completely back to normal. We're still a little bit staggered with COVID. So right now we are only open on Fridays and Saturdays. Friday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturdays 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And Saturdays I do either I or Jordan do a 3-story floor or a 3-story tour at 2 p.m.
And that typically lasts about an hour. Thanks, Jess. And also, if you bring friends, of course, we ask for a $5 donation, but pay what you can. And if you can't pay anything, that's fine. We're just glad you're there. So please, especially if you're in like the Raleigh, Durham, Greensboro, I would dare even people in Charlotte to come visit and just take a look around, get to know the staff, get to know the artists. If you do come during a residency before yours or after yours, feel free to come talk to the artists. And that might be, well, there's plenty more to share later. At some point, you will be connected to the alumni that have been there before once you start your residency. So thank you all. I know we're 13 minutes over, so really thank you all for your patience. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to working with you soon.
Thanks. Y'all were super charming and joyful. Appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Wow.
Have a good night. Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you, everybody.
I will
Thank
ring
you
us
all.
out.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
This is very cool.
Looking forward to connecting, Jordan. I'll talk.